Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Guess what? The time has come to talk about Hermes. And this particular little crop that has been a part of the Fashion Bunker for quite a while now. It's story time, you guys. I'm going to tell you how this came to be. When I purchased this, how did it all happen? And let me tell you, this story starts quite a while ago. But first, subscribe to my channel, push the join button next to the subscription button, become a member today, get access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon for extra perks there as well. Super Dacob all spelled together on Patreon. Thanks to all my members and patrons who have pledged. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. You're all invited to partake in the live chats every Saturday on my channel. Cue in my co-chatters. Hi, darlings. Looking fabulous, says Nina. Nina, thank you so much, Nina. 50 Shades of Hermes, says Deja. So you guys, listen. Now, the first time that I started using this Hermes crop in chèvre, this is in goat leather, was a little bit over a year ago when I started analyzing other luxury YouTubers' content. It was kind of like a funny, gimmicky moment. Mind you, I was never throwing shade at other people. I was just analyzing their content. And this is something that people watching my videos misunderstood often and would think that I'm throwing shade at other fellow content creators, when in reality, no, I was actually promoting them. In reality, what I was doing was taking what they were saying in their videos and analyzing that. I wasn't analyzing their persona or their lives. I was analyzing the content that they were publicly bringing out. And the funny moments in which certain topics or certain ways certain things were said by certain YouTubers was funny and warranted a little, like, in a whimsical way, saying like, let's see, let's judge now, right? This is kind of giving us the 50 Shades of Hermes, like somebody just said. But truth be told, and also a lot of shade was thrown my way, was cast my way, you know, after those videos started becoming more popular and after more and more people started tuning in. They did not know my history and my past. So a lot of people started thinking that this little Hermes crop was purchased by me like somewhere last year, just for, you know, using it on the channel, or just because I could not get an actual quota bag. So some nasty people, you know, Purse Forum and stuff would say like, oh, he got the crop because he can't, he was never offered a Birkin or a Kelly. He got it because, for whatever reason, you know, all the silly stuff people say. Well, the truth is that actually this crop has been in my life way before the journey was even a thing at Hermes. This crop has been with me way before you even needed purchase histories to go on your journeys to purchase bags. Oh, honey, let me tell ya. But also, it just proves to me that this particular piece and Hermes quality, this piece is a testament to their quality because, honey, I've had this crop since the year 2010. Way before I started my YouTube channel. Way before people started talking on YouTube about journeys, buying Hermes bags or what have you. Oh, honey, way before all that. Way before all that. 2010 is the year I purchased this crop. And it has been used before I started the YouTube channel. It has also been used as I started my YouTube channel, but haven't used it on my YouTube channel. In fact, it started appearing on my YouTube channel only last year. But in reality, darling, this little baby has been utilized since 2010. And still, it has survived so well. Wouldn't you agree? Look at the beauty of it. I never cleaned it. And the orange is still fabulous, right? Check it out. The crop gets a little spotlight moment. Now, the only thing that is kind of changing a little bit is on the sides, the glazing. You know, I hate glazing. But even the glazing did not crack. It's just getting a little bit, you know, used because this little thing bends as you use it, obviously. The handle is also Very, very beautiful still. And of course I wanted it in orange. Now, how did I get this little thing? So, I I was in an artist in residency program. I'm an artist, by the way, so I studied art, and I won a grant to spend a certain amount of time in a very special place. And one of my art projects, um, part of one of my art projects was included this crop. It was supposed to be an art installation with horses and people. Now, I before clearing up the purchase with the grant givers, um, I I was in my city, and I purchased the crop because I was like, well, when am I going to travel again to a place where there's an Hermes boutique? So let me just purchase it now. And then when I go back to my place where I have a grant, I can, deal with the whole paperwork later. And I can start working on my project. I I came back to the place where I had the grant. So, well, first in the store. Let's story time from the beginning. In the store, I entered, and very kind lady. She was in her late 50s, super old school Hermes sales associate. She was like, "How can I help you?" She looked at me kind of strange, because artist, dressed hip, young, just comes in. She's like, "Oh, how can I help you?" And I'm like, I'm looking for your horse riding gear." It was a bigger boutique, so they had a section designated just to that. And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So she started thinking, I guess I have a horse. And she takes me to the section where they have all their glycerin soaps, all the horse gear. And I'm like, "So I'm interested in your whips and your crops." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, does your horse, do you need to get your horse to jump, to gallop, or do you need it to sprint?" And I'm like, this was so superficial of me. I was like, it has to photograph well. That's what I told her. She's like, "Photograph well?" I'm like, "Yes. It has to look good in the hand, and it has to have the right length. Because for the purposes I need it for, length is everything." she, she looked at me. She's like, I think in her mind, she started thinking, 50 Shades of Hermes. And she's like, "Photograph well." I'm like, "Yeah, proportions are everything, darling." And she's like, "Okay." And this is, mind you, Instagram at this point is still not a thing in 2010. It exists, but it's not the Instagram that it is today, even though Instagram today is dying off. But I already had my visions. And she says, "Well, the whips are long, the crops are shorter." And I'm like, "Well, how short is short?" So then she says, "Okay, let me bring you out a couple." She was really very accommodating, I gotta say. So she brought me out the whips. The whips are like super long. They're like 3 times the length of this one, so they're like really long. And then I was like, "Oh, that's too long, and I'm gonna have to fly, travel. How am I gonna take this with me? It's gonna be complicated. I guess if that's the whip, show me the crop." And the crops, they all have the same size. They're all this size, but they have different leathers. So you can choose a crop in black. Back then they had black, blue, the Hermès Rouge H, the Hermès red H, but they also had a more poppy colored red. This was the time, mind you, when Jean-Paul Gaultier was the artistic director at Hermès. So coincidentally, also the time when I bought my Kelly necklace in leather, also another 50 Shades of Hermès moment, totally. Jean-Paul Gaultier knows what he was doing, let me just tell you. Anyway, so she shows me the black one. Oh, there was a purple one as well, blue, the red, and then the orange. And as I see the orange, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's the Hermès orange." She's like, "Yes. Not only will it be photogenic for you, but it's also a classic." I was like, "Oh, we were talking my language." I was like, "Wrap her up. wrap her up. And she did. And oh, did she. Because this thing comes in its own pouch, in its orange pouch. It's just literally the... And it comes in an orange box. The Hermes box. The size of the crop. She wraps it all up. I get a big bag for it. I pay it. And as I'm leaving, she says to me, oh, and by the way, if the photos are not too kinky, you can share them with us. I was like, yes, what a moment. Let me tell you, this is when Hermes was fun. This is when Hermes was fun. And I laughed and she laughed and I left. I came back home and I started packing because I had to go to the place where I had my artist residency. And then it hit me, you guys. I'm like, oh boy. I have this really long box with the crop in it, and I gotta fly tomorrow. And I mean, I can't put it in my suitcase because it's too long. The box is too long for the suitcase. I'm gonna have to take it as hand luggage. I wonder if it's gonna be a problem because it exceeds the minimums for, hand luggage. I don't know. At least, well. So you can imagine my frustration because I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this thing is like very precious. I cannot lose it. I can't arrive at the airport just for them to tell me you can't board the plane. So here I is, all dolled up and ready. I arrived to the airport. I passed the check-in area, right? I kind of, my suitcases, I, leave everything I have to leave. And then I take my hand luggage with this little baby in its box. And I walk towards security. Determined. Full of confidence. Okay? Full of confidence. And I came to I came to the security. And of course I'm keeping this as last. I'm putting my... I don't remember anymore if I had a backpack or if I had just a top handle bag. So I gave them that and my jacket. And I'm just standing there with this thing. And the security guy's like, what's that? He didn't even say, you got to put that down as well to get x-rayed. He's just like, what's that? That's not normal. Mind you, the orange box. And I'm like, oh, this. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, the lady at the check-in said it's okay as hand luggage. He's like, she didn't say anything. I didn't, I avoided talking to her about this. But anyway, he's like, what is it? And I'm like, fine. So I opened the box. I pulled this baby out of its dust bag, the orange dust bag. And he's like, this is a weapon. At that point, I was like, okay, I gotta make this work somehow. So let me use all my charm. So he's like, that's a weapon. I gather myself together. I look at him and I said, well, that depends. That depends. It can be also a weapon of pleasure. Oh my God. So he turned, I kid you not, pepperoni red. He was, oh my God, in Australia they kept calling them capsicum. He turned capsicum red. What a silly name for it. Pepperoncino. Capsicum red. He kind of stood there for a second and I'm like, with the crop, I'm like, he literally said, you know what? Just put everything back in, close that box, go through, and never talk to me again. Oh my God. So at least he believed me that I'm not going to be some weird person that's going to attack people on the plane with a crop. I'm like, dude, it's a collector's piece. You know what I mean? So he let me pass. I flew with this baby all the way to my artist in residency place, and with its box and everything. And then I arrived, I unboxed it, I was super happy to have it. And then comes the moment when I have to go with the bill to the office that's responsible for like, the decision making, like all the products that you purchase for your artistic projects. They have to kind of validate all of them. So obviously, this person that decides for all of this sees a bill from Hermes, an invoice from Hermes. And without even kind of like reading through my artistic project and what I wanted to do, what my idea was, I immediately get declined. And they call me into the office and I'm like, what's the problem? Like, what? And they're like, so we cannot pay for this because it's a luxury object. And I kid you not, this is where I had a huge disagreeing with them. And for my love of luxury, and also for my love of art, unfortunately, we did not end on good terms with this particular person. Because, well, quite frankly, I told him, I said, who are you to decide what is art and what isn't art? Does art always have to deal with poverty? Does art always have to deal with something that, like, this luxury object and my critiquing luxury through my art is my art piece. You cannot tell me, just because this crop is made by Hermes, that it is not valid enough to be utilized as a utensil for my art project. Who are you to make this decision? I found that dictatorial, to say the least. I was super upset. And I said, fine, I'll pay it myself. I'll make my project myself. And I literally, for the rest of my stay there, was avoiding that person. And I mean, at a certain point, they felt bad. Almost half a year later, they gave me a relatively big project to do. So that was kind of okay. But I still know that they gave me that bigger project just because, like, they knew they messed up with this. And this is just to say, this is one of the biggest art projects I've done, because this little crop has been with me for such a long time. Through thick and thin, I have had so many experiences with this one, so many, that I can tell you, for all those haters out there that try to throw shade at me and try to say like, oh, you got the crap because you can't get the bag. Honey, there's nothing I would want more in this world from Hermes than this crop, and I have it. And that is basically it. That's the bottom line. Don't be so quick to judge others, because you're probably going to get it wrong. You're probably going to get it wrong, and you're not going to know exactly what's behind the story. But this little baby has been with me since 2010. It's 2022 right now as I'm filming. 12 years already. 12 years. How long can you say you've been together with some weird piece like this? So before you judge, look at yourself in the mirror, baby. Look at yourself in the mirror first. Love this crop even more now, says Aisha. I'm telling you, this baby has had so many stories come with it. And this is the reason why I didn't want to take it to Australia, ultimately. Because I knew it would always be a problem. And I didn't want to go... I was a little bit younger back then. I don't know if I can get away with the cutesy moment now, passing through security and having a security guard telling me like, hey, this is a weapon. I don't know if I can get away with it now. Also, one last moment, really sad story time moment. As I was leaving Australia just a couple of weeks ago, I'm still blonde. For those of you who've been following my channel for a while now, I used to have shorter blonde hair, bleached, and I'm still, on my passport, I'm still blonde. And here I am passing through immigration in Australia, and the officer looks at my passport and looks at me, looks at the passport, looks at me, and has to call his colleague because he can't, like, he doesn't know if that's me. And then the colleague comes in, looks at the passport, looks at me, looks at the passport, looks at me. And I say at that point, if this isn't me, then who am I? Like, this is me. And I said to them at that point, listen, the pandemic has been tough on all of us. Okay, 2 years have passed. My hair is a little bit longer now. And maybe I've gained, a couple of ounces here and there. But like, come on, you can still recognize me. Third officer comes in and says, time has not been your friend. Let him go. I was like, oh my God. I'm not, you know what? I looked at them. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to say anything just because you have the upper hand here, because you are the immigration officer. Like, you have your 5 seconds of power that you can exert on top of you can do whatever you want, literally. So I'm going to just keep it classy. I'm going to be like, thank you. And I went on about my day. The shade. How many times I've been thrown shade whenever I had to show my document and they see me with the blonde hair, and then they see me and then they go like, you looked better before. So listen, people trolling me on internet is nothing, because when you get trolled in real life by officers, that's when the real shade flies. Let me tell you. So for me to have resisted the psychological terrorism that's been perpetrated upon me because of my looks for the past several years, and still, despite all of that, continuing to grow my hair, is a true testament to how committed I am to my art. Because it would be so easy to just shave my hair off, be blonde again, and basically have all doors open up to me, because when I'm blonde, people just seem to, like, I don't know, they really, really like me like that. And instead, no, I'm committed to this, to my art piece that is I. And despite all the odds, I keep going. I keep bashing my head against the wall. I don't care, but this is what I believe in. So this is let this be a lesson for y'all. Jamie says, oh, he's just jealous because you're up in that immigration line looking like L'Oreal advert. Oh, thank you, Jamie. That's so kind of you. But, Jay Harris Kid says, you look amazing to me. Thank you so much, you guys. Listen, I'm not fishing for compliments here. All I'm saying is, bottom line, no matter what they tell you, no matter how much they criticize you, it don't mean nothing. Only thing that means something is what you feel when you're in front of that mirror and you're looking at yourself and you're dealing with yourself. That's all that matters. What everybody else thinks, and no matter what they tell, oh, do this, oh, you know what? You should maybe do that. You should maybe wear this instead of that. Who are you? Mind your own freaking business. Thank you very much. That's exactly the point. That's all I wanted to say. So this little beauty here has such meaning to me. It also represents my freedom. It also represents my liberty, my artistic expression. This was one of the first luxury pieces that I purchased for an art purpose, and that represented so much to me and still does to this day. So this is a very, very, very important symbol of my freedom, of my artistic freedom. Who would have thought? An Hermes crop with so much meaning. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this story time video, until next time, never forget to never give up on love and subscribe.